The Gemara says in Rosh Hashanah that on the din of Rosh Hashanah, they only judge you as you are at that moment. It's learned out of Yishmael. Vayishmael kimes kol hanar ba'asher hu sham. God heard, the voice of the lad, right? As he was there, even though he was destined to make the Arab nation, causes a lot of pain, but at that moment, and Chazal learn out that's how it works on Rosh Hashanah. The way you are at that moment is how God judges you. What a ripoff! I mean, really. So, what is the point? Everyone could just hold it in for 48 hours. Yeah, really. Yeah. Well, really, it makes the whole thing seemingly a mockery. And then what is the legitimacy in that? Really, the way you are in Rosh Hashanah, it's a whole. Everything is hinging on that. Yeah. I'd say that needs even though seemingly this goes counter to what we find in the Gemara, we find Nusach HaTefillah, right? That everything is on the scales. Ata zocher ma'aseh olam, you remember everything, God. Saying by zichronos, and nothing is forgotten, and every ain't shichol ifnei kisei kvodecha. Right, so we're talking about it today, where all our deeds are remembered, right? Black on white, all our and yet the Gemara says, and you're only judged as you are at that moment. It goes against, the whole notion of giving a accounting on what we've done. That's something that needs the justice in that needs to be understood. You don't have to give din v'cheshbon what you did on a whole year. We see black and white that everything is remembered on this day, past, present, and future. So how's that work? Everything's remembered, everything is weighed, everything is reevaluated. And yet, Basher Husham, only as he is at that moment. So that needs how you go to balance these two contradictory messages. And then there's something else, and we must not make light of it because it's from the Talmud. It's ancient. It's from the Gemara itself, the Simanim, that we have on Leil Rosh Hashanah. Oh, this is not some custom of, recent. This is Talmudic. Right, yeah. This is not, over the years, new ones were constantly being invented, right. You have a whole shmork just from the Simanim, right?
Right. Who needs to eat after?
Right, it's amazing. And all okay. But the concept is from the Gemara already. This is no joke, right? So it's very interesting. It's not even a Gemara in Rosh Hashanah. There's a Gemara elsewhere in Shas in the sugya of coronating kings. That was a sugya, and it says that they had you see in Tanakh they coronated kings by flowing water. All right, and then and why? Because it should symbolize shetimashech malchuso. His kingdom should be ongoing and flowing. It should go on and on. Continue like the river. And the Gemara says, Haster Shamin the Simanim Milsa. Once we learned from this that making Simanim is real because they took pain to coronate a king by a flowing brook to have this Siman. Therefore, you have to be careful what you eat on Rosh Hashanah night. On Rosh Hashanah, it's actually what it says, I think, generally speaking, what you eat on Rosh Hashanah is actual. To be careful what you eat. And the Gemara makes a few recommendations of some of the simanim that the Sfardim still do. Some of this marsh from the Gemara, and it's not some type of recent minhag, and it's all learned out from the coronation of a king, which you yourselves can make the connection. That's one of the themes of Rosh Hashanah, being Mamlech HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But we have to tighten the connection. What's up with the simanim?
Can I ask you a question? Could that also apply to other minhagim that we have on food, like eating something zecherim on the Shabbos and all kinds of other things?
No, this is on a whole different league. This is from the Gemara.
No, but you're saying they're learning out the simanim.
Yes, no, simanim milsa. Yes.
Food minhagim that we have.
Well, I'll explain. If it's coming for the same reason as we're about to explain.
Okay,
if
so
it's coming for the same purpose.
On our year.
it's going to, yes, but also we have to understand the concept of a siman, what it's for. And it seems to come up with malchus. It's where it crops up. Because this sugya was talking about coronating kings,
Right.
and they had a siman, okay, and therefore on Rosh Hashanah also. Make simanim.
But they're different simanim for different Ashkenazim, for Sfardim.
Right, yes.
I mean, everybody has their own simanim.
Yeah, I say we took the ball and ran with it, right? But the bottom line is, and we'll explain this. Once we understand what simanim are, you can understand why you can even make up your own. And we'll discuss that in a second. When we get into what it's all about, really. We posited this, in previous years. When we spoke last year, and we'll ask it again. There's many answers to this question. All right, Chazal tell us in many places, that the shofar, it causes the sutton, to get mixed up, and he can't prosecute. The shofar in itself converts the midas hadin into midas harachamim. Right? We have all, God gave us the fail-safe system, right, to, guarantee, getting out of this okay. Great. So why judge us in the first place? Right. All right, we're going to judge you, but here's the shofar, and you got the case right. Don't judge us! Don't judge us, but here's eitzes to get out of it. Well, what's up with that?
Because then we'd run amok totally. At least there's a little bit of a...
Not saying, no, but we're positive. Basher Sham, just be good for 48 hours. Come on. If you want it to be that easy, just don't judge us. Right? And, as we've mentioned before, just take it from a different angle. All right, the Chazal already talk about this strange phenomenon, and the Torah brings it lahalacha. Right, that if a guy has to go to court in front of a king, the man's not eating or showering or shaving for a week in advance because he's like a wreck. Right, all right, and Am Yisrael goes into Rosh Hashanah, bathed, and in their finest clothes, and shaved and showered, shaved and haircut. Actually, it says in the Medrash. Right? This is one of the sources that Jews shaved. This Medrash, Megulachim. That's right. They go in, looking their best. Right? And that's what's brought down La Halacha, that it's, one has to prepare for Rosh Hashanah no less, even more than any other Yom Tov, to go in, shaved, showered, haircut, freshly laundered clothes, the whole business, right? And the question is, why? It really is a serious question that Am Yisrael seems to be very comfortable with the fact they're on trial. So that's the halacha. Right? Now there's another halacha based on a pasuk in Nehemiah. It says, the pasuk says that the Jewish people were in a low mood, and Nehemiah told them on Rosh Hashanah, go home, ichlu mashmam, eat well, and everyone's makayim down on Rosh Hashanah, man. Right? Ichlu mashmanim, right? Ki chedvas Hashem ma'uschem, and based on that, some poskim say it's usher to cry on Rosh Hashanah. Certainly no less than any of the Yom Tov. You have to be b'simcha.
All those things.
Yeah, but that's an amazing thing. You're on Rosh Hashanah, you're on trial. You're not on trial on Yom Kippur. Right? It's part of it also has to do with, that there's not, we're not begging for mercy anywhere in the tefillah. Not begging for mercy ever. Oh, we ask for a good year. That's about it. We don't say sorry for any of our sins. Right? There's no vidui on Rosh Hashanah. Right? Yud Gimel Midas only when taking out the Torah. That's it. Like any Yom Tov. And that's it. Not asking for any. This is the trial. The trial is today. Yom Kippur is too late. It's after the trial.
We're buttering up Hashem on Rosh Hashanah.
Not buttering up. You should be begging for mercy. You would think it's the trial. This is the trial, and we're not asking for any mercy. there was already a ksiva, the Gzar Din was already written, and then we have Yom Kippur. It's a famous kasha they ask. Usually we have Yom Kippur and then Rosh Hashanah. You're getting your act together a bit too late after there's a decree has been handed down, even though it hasn't been sealed yet, but now it's harder to change because something has been written. As opposed to if it's still a clean slate, nothing's been written yet, it's a lot easier. So you should have Yom Kippur and then Rosh Hashanah. It's a question they all ask. First beg for mercy, and then, patch things up and then reincarnate God as your king. And we do it the other way around. Take him as king, right? Now, going a little bit cocky, a little bit overconfident. We're just, Chazal point out this strange, Am Yisrael does this. Go in there, well dressed, make sure to be well fed, right? And this is the trial. And after it's too late, you start doing tshuva, Aser made tshuva, and Yom Kippur. It should have been the whole other way around. What's up with that? There's one more thing that's also we may have spoken about this in previous years, but we'll take it from a different angle. Right? The fact that Rosh Hashanah is Yom Adin, you will not find that anywhere in Tanakh. Nowhere. It's only in Torah Sheba'al Peh. Well, hey, Yom Teruah, just blow the shofar. It's one of the holidays. It's not one of the Shalosh Regalim. It's not one of the Shalosh Regalim, and then maybe we should talk about why that is. There's Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur are they are Yom Tov, but they're not Regalim. There's no din of Aliyah L'Regel, making the pilgrimage to the Beis HaMikdash. And that's why there's some parshas where they're omitted. The parshas HaRegalim, parshas Mishpat, Kisisa, and Re'eh. There's no mention of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur because it's only talking about the Shalosh Regalim. These things are Yom Tovim, but they're not Regalim. Right. And if only for the Torah Shebachsav does talk about how Yom Kippur is a Yom Kippurim. Yes, that it does say. But Rosh Hashanah, that's Yom Adin. You would never know without the Torah Sheba'al Peh. Never know it. Right? You have to know why that is. Try to understand, what the message in that was hidden. That the goyim who stole the chumash from us still remain oblivious. They remain oblivious to the fact that Rosh Hashanah is a Yom Adin. So the pasuk says like this: Tiku b'chodesh shofar, b'keseh liyom chagenu, ki chok liyisrael hu mishpat lokei Yaakov. Blow on the chodesh, which is referring to chodesh Tishrei, right? Shofar. But keseh liyom chagenu, keseh, the Gemara Darshan keseh is in mechuseh, right? It's the one holiday that the moon is barely visible. All our holidays are in the middle of the lunar month. But keseh, this month is, this holiday is bakeseh. It's hidden. That's why. By the way, case in point. Right, this is even in Eretz Yisrael, they keep 2 days Rosh Hashanah because even in the times of the Beis HaMikdash, Rosh Hashanah was 2 days everywhere except in the Beis HaMikdash itself, where the Edom would give their testimony, because Rosh Hashanah is Rosh Chodesh. You don't know whether, right, and you don't know which day. But if the Edom come after Mincha, so that day is holy and the next day is holy. Right? So it was always. Anywhere outside of the Beis HaMikdash was always 2 days. Right? Only the Beis HaMikdash itself, where they saw that they were living on the spot. They sometimes had a 1 day. Even sometimes had 2 days, because it's automatically 2 days if the Edom don't come by Mincha time. It's automatically 2 days. So even in the Beis HaMikdash, many times it was 2 days, but always because it's Yom Tov, you can't send out the messengers, right? So there's no way. So anywhere outside of it was always 2 days. So Chazal told us to keep the minhag. So the minhag was even in Israel. It's just like we keep the minhag of 2 days Yom Tov in Chutz La'aretz, that was the minhag. In Israel, they keep 2 days because that was the minhag. It always worked out that way, more often than not, because it comes out on Rosh Chodesh itself. You could barely see the moon, right? And there's something to that also, right? But then the pasuk ends off like this: Ki chok li Yisrael, hu mishpat lelokei Yaakov. It's a chok for Israel and a judgment for the God of Jacob. Chok and Mishpat. And look at the, Chok with the word Yisrael, with the name Yisrael, and Mishpat associated with the name Yaakov. And as we know, we have two national names. Kol Samar lebnei Yisrael, Kol Samar Beis Yaakov is Sage lebnei Yisrael, Zera Yisrael Avdo bnei Yaakov. But here you'll find this constant double talk about our nation is sometimes called Israel, sometimes it's called Jacob, and sometimes in the same pasuk it'll be mentioned both ways. And we're going to get into that, and understanding. It would also be a key to understanding all this, right? Magid dvarav liYaakov, chukav u'mishpatav liYisrael, etc. Always a lot of psukim like that, and we're going to try to get into what is that duality, the Yaakov Yisrael duality, and how it plays out on Rosh Hashanah with Chok and Mishpat. Okay? It's like we say, Chok Yisrael Mishpat keYaakov. We say in our tefillah also Dvar Chok u'Mishpat. Dvar Chok u'Mishpat. And yet, the tzadkenu, we should be called virtuous, you'll only find it in conjunction with the term Mishpat. There's no tzadkenu b'chok, ever. Trust me on this. Not trust me, no. Test me on this, I meant to say. Right? It's not, it is, you'll never find vitzadkenu, even, right, we say also tefillah in Hashiva Shovtenu, vitzadkenu b'mishpat, to be tzodek, to be declared a tzaddik, as opposed to Russia, is always in conjunction with the noun mishpat, not with the noun chok. That's how it's on. All right, there's something to think about.
It's hard to keep the hope, to keep the mishpat. Hope is so difficult. You don't know what. It's not logical or rational. Mishpat is, so why is it virtuous?
Yeah, so you think if you're to be you should be vitzadkenu, to be a tzaddik, should be equally applicable to chok and mishpat. How well did you uphold the law? But there's something very deep over here that needs to be realized and understood.
That is discussed.
What?
Do what you're supposed to do is.
Right, and that's why you should think it should apply to tzedek, the tzedek should apply to chok just as much as mishpat, but it's always vitzakenu ba mishpat. Right, so you say Tagid liYaakov dvar chok u'mishpat vitzadkenu ba mishpat hamelech hamishpat. You tell Yaakov chok u'mishpat, you say in tefillah, but vitzadkenu ba mishpat hamelech hamishpat. Tzadkenu goes with mishpat. You would think if chok and mishpat are synonyms, they both mean law. So you have to be justified in the eyes of the mishpat, and you have to be justified in the eyes of the chok. This is because one we know the reasons for, and one we don't know the reasons for. How well did you uphold the law? So why should it be a difference whether it's a chok or a mishpat? How well did you obey the law? What's the reason? You understand the reason for the law. You don't understand the reason for the law. There's something deeper about the difference between chok and mishpat. Right? And that we're going to have to get into. And this depth also has to do with our relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu and what's going on Rosh Hashanah. Right? So, everyone, it was already invoked over here that Chok and Mishpat are talking about that when we know the reasons, and then when we don't know the reasons, but that's only one application of the difference. That's not the essential difference. That's just talking about from our perspective. That we could mishpatim are the types of things that even if God wouldn't have commanded, we would have made a social contract, would have legislated things like it, like not to kill and not to steal. Every society needs that, right? But we're talking about just from our perspective, right? But the Torah itself uses these terms, which means that there is a difference in essence between the two concepts. Difference in essence doesn't mean that they're different entities I'm going to explain. As in, what I mean to say is that every mitzvah of the Torah has a chok aspect and a mishpat aspect, as I will explain. But they are different aspects. Different aspects that really sort of permeate all the mitzvahs of the Torah. Just some are, the chok aspect is more dominant, some the mishpat aspect is more, but there are two different aspects, and some which want to explain. There's two types of law, right? in human experience, from our perspective, there's two types of law. Right? So, to illustrate, right, there's the law of gravity. Now, let's say like this: I'm going to run a very successful campaign. Look, if Donald could do it, I can do it. Right? So, right, right, and that's it. And I'm going to become president, right? And whatever. And I'll make sure also that both houses are with people like-minded like me, right? And we're going to get that. We're going to overturn the law of gravity. There won't be gravity in the United States of America.
You're gonna make America great again.
There you go.
Gravity, yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
It's just a law. We'll overturn the law. What's the matter? You know? Get both houses behind me. Right? I think that should be my platform. Right?
That sounds like Trump.
That's what I said. He could do it. I could do it. Right? Right. So what's wrong with that? It's the law of gravity, right? They say it's a law. We'll overturn the law. Right.
One is God's law and the other thing's a man's law.
Right. All right. Let's go. So, all right. So there's okay. So let's break it down a little bit more and more before we get into the Ribbon Shalom. Right? No, because there's a one is what we call natural law. Natural law. Right. The other one is artificial. It's legislated. There's natural law versus legislated law. Right? So now, legislated law, it's artificial. Right? So you could overturn it, or you could also negotiate. You could change it, and that you could argue. You could argue with the judge. So even if you don't actually change the law, you could argue, and make a case, and the judge will, technically violate law, but he'll accept your arguments and he'll let you off. Because the whole thing was just legislated to begin with. Right? Yeah, but then there's a tzaddik in Russia, both slip off the roof. Right? Gravity is undifferentiating and unforgiving, whether you're a tzaddik or a Russia. You could have all the good reasons in the world why you should not get hurt. All the great, and good luck to you. Right? The gravity is undifferentiated. It's a fact. It's a fact of life. So it's a natural law. There's no changing it. There's no arguing with it. You cannot, protest your innocence to the law of gravity. Right? Sorry, it's like a sensitive topic to some people at the table. I apologize. Right? So here is the amazing. Now, okay, so now I want to back up a little bit and then discuss how God's law is the opposite of the way we feel about man's law. It's mamish the opposite. And the static in our relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu is because we're relating to His law the same way as we relate to human law. And that's the problem. It's the exact opposite. We have also in legislative law what they call the dry law. The dry law, and that would be what in shallow thinking would be the equivalent of what we call a chok. And look, hey, you want to argue? Listen, they set the speed limit at whatever they set it at, right? And it may make no sense. Listen, this street is always empty. This street is always. It makes no sense why the speed limit is what it is. Dry law. And you can't argue with it because whatever, speed limit is what it is. It's all the argumentation won't help you. Dry law, but you're really ticked off about it when you have to pay that ticket because the whole thing was artificial. But rather, there's nothing to argue. If they caught you going at that speed, all the excuses won't do you any good. Well, it's dry law. That's the speed limit. It is because it is. Why? Lama kacha. Right? Right. That's okay. But it gets you really, really upset because it didn't really have to be that way. Right? Right? HaKadosh Baruch Hu's law is the exact opposite. This is an amazing thing. Right? All right, these terms, Chok and Mishpat, are found in Tanakh, addressing exactly what we're pointing out. You will never find the term Mishpat about the natural laws. But you will find in lo brisi yomam v'layla chukos shamayim va'aretz lo santi. If not for my covenant of limud Torah or Chazal Darshan Bris Milah, chukos shamayim va'aretz, the laws of heaven and earth, I've never put. Meaning that the whole reality is hinging on the covenant that we have with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, whether the pshat in that pasuk is referring to limud Torah, whether it's referring to Bris Milah, chukos shamayim va'aretz. There are many other psukim like that. You'll find the term chok, right, by the very existence and the structure of heaven and earth. Because, and you understand very well, the natural laws just are. They just are. Right? So even though from God's perspective, He legislated them, right? He decided, by Sheish Semei Breishis what the laws are, right? But these things are called chukim because there's no room to argue, right? And it would not be befitting, and also lahalacha v'lemaaseh, halacha lemaaseh. It is improper to daven to HaKadosh Baruch Hu to suspend the law of gravity. Because even though He could do it, He could do anything. He's God, right? It is an inappropriate request because that's the way He wants to run the world. So we have to do it as a chok. Hey, it's not open to be contested or to be negotiated, and that's called a person who davens a tefillah like that. It depends. Chazal have gradations. That sometimes it's called atruche klape shmaya. It's called that you're putting an unnecessary burden on heaven. Like Rava, who once had to daven that, he lived in the Middle East. It doesn't rain in the summer. He had to daven that it rained in Tammuz. Right? But, it was a serious pikuach nefesh, but the Gemara says that type of tefillah, it's possible, but it's highly improbable. That's called atruche klape shmaya. Right? That's called, to be, that's an improper tefillah. Right? But then there's something that's called tefillas shav. Right? It's a prayer in vain. It's mamish a sin to do. Like a person's dead already. Right? Let him be alive. No. Something that, davening history shouldn't be history, right? That's called tefillas shav. We don't doubt God's ability to do anything. Inappropriate request. Not negotiable. Because that's not the way God wants to run His world. And that's why I call these things chukim. Chukos shamayim va'aretz. They're not open to, it's any type of argumentation being re-evaluated, or you have a good taina. Forget it. Right? And of course, God is smarter than we think, so He'll find another way to help you out. And that's why our tefillah should be generally just say what you need help with. Don't tell Him how to do it. He'll know how to do it without violating His own rules, because He's God, and He knows He's more aware of the options than you are. So He'll find a good option without violating His own. That's why the appropriate way to be mispallo anyway, even when you're not asking for the laws of nature to be suspended, is always not to tell God how to do it. Just say what you need, and He'll figure out how to give it to you. It says it's far. If you tell Him how to do it, you're actually limiting it.
Sure.
Right? You knocked out other options, and there were probably better options than what you were aware of. Just say what you want. Just say what you need. No time to do it, but certainly it's not appropriate. The tefillah is an aveira, even if it's done in a way that you're asking Him to violate His own rules that He wants to run the world with. Just ask Him what you need. He could give it to you. Yeah, He give it to you in ways you can, more than what you could imagine. Right? As opposed to Mishpat, which is wide open to negotiations. And now here we had, and very in a very, very far-reaching way, right? Sdom, miserable people, terrible, terrible people. And Avraham Avinu went to bat for them. And not only that, the amazing thing is, this is amazing what went on over there. When you read the dialogue and the way Rashi explains it, it was court. They set up court. Avraham Avinu was playing the role of a defense attorney, right? And he was arguing as follows: Hashofet kol haaretz lo yaseh mishpat. He was accusing God of injustice. And it's very interesting, and there are big reasons behind this that go beyond the scope of today's shir. Why Avraham Avinu did that? Why don't you just beg for mercy? He set up court. The divine name used there is Adnus, straight, Aleph Daled Nun Yud, right? Not Yud Kei Vav Kei. He did not appeal for mercy. Adnus is Malchus. Dina de Malchusa Dina. He tried to argue for stone. And that's it. And Avram Avinu gave up. He lost the argument. At one point, Avram Avinu said, because they didn't have the requisite number of tzaddikim with all the towns combined. Avram Avinu gave up, but he tried. He went down fighting. And he was arguing, Hashofet kol haaretz lo yaser. Amazing. You're talking to God, right? The judge of the whole world will not do justice. Right? But Mishpat is open to argumentation. Just like you can understand the reasons, it means, the fact that you can understand the reasons means God wants you to play a role. He wants your input. Shofet, Kadosh Baruch Hu says, I want man's input. Even though he's smarter than you, isn't he? But he made room for man to give input. Right, and argue. It's an amazing thing. Now, so you ask another question like this, that if Mishpat is so wide open that even man, could, say his piece, stare down God and say what you think. How could the Rebbe Shem be mafkir his world that way, right? To give the human being so much input. That's like making Donald Trump president. How can you be mafkir the world that way, right? You have to think about the other way, as a privilege, but what's God thinking, right? To give man that much power. Right? So the answer is, not all mankind has that power. Magid Rav Yaakov Chukav u'Mishpatav liYisrael lo osachen l'chol goy u'Mishpatim bal yedom. Right? He told these words to Yaakov, Chok and Mishpat to Yisrael. He did not do that for any other nation. U'Mishpatim bal, they do not know Mishpat. Right? And that's pasuk is one of the sources that's also to teach a goy Torah from u'Mishpatim bal yedaum. But it would tell you the pasuk, literally, they don't know Mishpat. They can't argue with God. Right? This is a special privilege for the Jewish people. Right? Making us partners in reality. Right, but we're going to explain this more, and so what's happening on Rosh Hashanah, is.
Can I ask something? But you're saying Chok u'Mishpat liYisrael, but I thought it's only the Chok aspect.
Well, no, meaning it's Chok and Mishpat for Am Yisrael, but of course, Am Yisrael also has another identity called Yaakov, which so you have to divide the two. This will be Chok Yisrael and Mishpat Yaakov. But just like I'm a Ben Yisrael and I'm a Ben Yaakov, I also have Chok Mishpat. If I had to make teams, and draw parallels, so this term really more relates this side to that side, but they're not, it's not a split.
No,
it's not a split. It's it's all one, but it just say there are netias.
No, I said that the Mishpat is a part that we can,
Yes.
take.
Yes, but we have Chok
with
u'Mishpat,
Hashem.
and we have to discuss it. We have Chok u'Mishpat, and we have to discuss the interrelationship between the two. So we've been discussing so far the contrast. We haven't discussed that's what we have to get to, and that's what we have to get to on Rosh Hashanah. We have to find a reconciliation between the two, and I'm going to explain that. All right. All right. So. And that's that this is we've had this just to talk about the greatness of this and also to a sane person should be very frightening. We know that's the halach of lo b'shamayim he. We argue with God. Mamish. Amad Rabbi Shmuel Raglov. Right, Rabbi Elazar ben Horkner said God make the river flow the other way. Even a bas will come out. Malachem etzel Elazar b'ni halach kamosa b'chol makom. Lo b'shamayim. Right? And Akash at that time was laughing. Nitzchuni banai. We could best God in an argument, as it were. But that sounds great. That's real. That's real peppy, whatever you want to call it. But you think about it as a sane person, it's very irresponsible. Make, feeble-minded man, give him so much power. Think about it the other side also. How can you give so much power to mortal man? But that's what we're pointing out. First of all, it's not all mankind, right? So it's like chukim, right? Magid Rav Yaakov chukav u'mishpatav liyisrael lo asachem l'chol goy u'mishpatim bal yidom. They don't have that. The goyim do not have this. There's only by Am Yisrael.
And what about all the dictators who have so much power?
Yeah, it's because so they are actually doing God's bidding. They have not. It's not by. It's you know why? It's because of our sins. So we gave them that power. Yeah, it's not because they're determining the course of destiny. It was determined already, and that's why they rose to power. Determined already because of our sins and the gzera that was on us. Right, but we are reality shapers. So now, but here's the thing, right, getting back to the Mishpatim where we play a role, but seemingly God's laws are all chukim in the sense that we've presented. They are natural law. The word chok, you know what it literally means? It literally means engraved. It just is. It's etched. It's etched. It's not just a command. It's etched, like etched in stone, like etched in reality. Yeah, because we know that because istako ba'oraiso bara'alma. Like the Torah law is the law that the whole reality has been structured upon. It's been it's the blueprint of reality. It's the Torah is the law of the Torah is really the root behind all the laws of nature. Natural laws are derivative, and natural law is actually so strong. Why is natural law so strong? Because it comes from Torah law, which is from God, and that's why natural law is so strong and seemingly unchangeable and immutable. It gets its strength from the fact that it comes from the laws of the Torah. Right? Which makes the idea of Mishpat even far more fascinating. That really what's happening, that when Am Yisrael now, the Sanhedrin will vote on something and take up Psak Halacha, it's a reality shaper. It's a reality shaper. Right? But now you can understand, by the way, I have to backtrack a little bit, but I'm sure you came up with this point yourself. Now you understand why there's no Vitzadkenu B'chok. There's only Vitzadkenu B'chok. Chok just is. It's gravity. You could be very righteous, gravity's still going to pull you to the ground. There's Vitzadkenu B'mishpat, where you could make an argumentation and pose an argument, and push a decision through, for whatever case you made. Right? There's no making cases with gravity. There's no Vitzadkenu in chukim. It just is. Right? There's nothing to argue. In Mishpat there is, but you think about the ramifications that in Mishpat there is. That means also Am Yisrael is really in effect reality shapers, because God's law is the law of life itself. Right? So the answer is like this. Right? Aside from the fact that behind every mishpat is a chok aspect to it, for the very reason that we just said, because God's law is reality, so it's like engraved, it's like chukim. Of course, also, philosophically, there are even in mishpatim that we supposedly understand, like Geneva and Gzela, there's still chok aspects to it. Like, why is it only Geneva pays kefil? Gazlan, guy mugged you, he doesn't pay kefil. The guy, went into your house when you were away. We're not talking about if you were in the house, you're allowed to kill him. It's Baba Machteres. Pop him. It was a break and entry, which he was willing to kill. Well, let's say you weren't in your house, so you snuck in, took something. He pays kefil. If he mugs you in front of you, beats you up, and he doesn't pay kefil. Gezel doesn't pay kefil. If he just pulls something out of your hand, takes about it, you don't know about it. Takes something from your house. Right? Takes something from your house, he pays. It's, fall into a pit, or whatever, guy was negligent, right? He only has to pay for your bodily damage. If your clothes got ruined, kalim, it's potter on kalim. Boris potter on kalim, etc., etc. So there's always a certain chok aspect, details that we don't understand, and those are telltale signs that the Torah comes way above, from a place much higher than logic. Because even though these things are technically called mishpatim, that we understand the idea generally of how necessary it is, we still don't understand all the details. That's really the fact that there's these special halachas, reminds us that Torah comes from way above, where our minds reach. Because with these details we'd never figure out on our own, these differentiations. Right? Because the Torah, yes, the Torah law is reality. Right? And yet the Rebbe Shalom wanted to make Am Yisrael the partners in this, with Matan Torah. So, question is, what's God thinking? Answer must be, right? He knows he could trust the Jewish people. He knows he could trust them. That, they will handle this power out of us, not in a sense, to usurp God and play with him, argue with him to get their own way, right? Trust the Jewish people to handle his law the way he wants it handled. First and foremost, the intent, kulo l'shem shamayim. Learning up the sugyas, not to find some way to, I had to rip off someone else, but learning the sugyas, trying to understand what the Rebbe Shalom wants. Right? The intent. And the way that it's handled, with that seriousness. Right? So therefore, all the different outcomes that we arrive at through our own learning are all part of the solution set of the cosmic equation. Like x squared is equal to 4. X could be either 2 or negative 2. Right? But it can't be 5. Right? That doesn't fit. So Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel, Elu ve'elu divrei Elokim Chaim, even though they said opposite things. Because 2 and negative 2 both solve. X squared is equal to 4. Right? Right? Sometimes there's more than one solution to an equation. And that's the secret of machlokas. If everyone is mechaven l'shem shamayim, each one of their results which should be able to fit the cosmic equation of the Torah. Right? And which desired result did God want? He wanted all of them. That's why he gave it to Am Yisrael. Because Am Yisrael, through their learning, are going to bring out all the colors and all the possibilities that the Torah has. Angels can't do that. Through Am Yisrael, the way the Torah looks through the filter of Am Yisrael and how Am Yisrael handles the Torah, brings out all the colors and all the possibilities. God's not monolithic. Right? It's much more colorful and far-reaching than our minds can ever encompass. And to bring out all those different possibilities, right? He gave the Torah to Am Yisrael. And you can trust them that they'll come up with either 2 or negative, but not a solution like 5 that doesn't fit the equation. So Beis Shammai, Beis Hillel, that's the 2, that's negative 2, and Elu ve'elu divrei Elokim Chaim. Right. But that means there's something special about Am Yisrael, that that Am Yisrael could be trusted, with this type, that Am Yisrael has roots, roots by HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that we could just be the prism to bring out all the colors of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's light, as opposed to trying to use the Torah against him. And this is the amazing thing. Bereshis, B'shul Yisrael Shnikru Reshis, B'shul HaTorah Shnikru Reshis. Right? Chazal darshan those 2 things on the same word, Bereshis, the first, Am Yisrael and the Torah, saying that we were rooted in that first thought, that same first thought from which the Torah comes from. That's where we have roots. We have roots there. Our neshamas are firmly rooted in the point of origin of the Torah. That's why God could trust us with the power. We're not going to take it and run with it. We're going to just have it unfold. No. Right.
So that was exactly what the Dora Flugga did. They used the power of unity to
Yes,
completely-
on the particular power of unity, that's correct.
You want to use the power of unity to?
Try to use it against God.
against
yeah.
Hashem,
Yeah, the power of unity,
to achieve
per
what
se.
they wanted, not what
Right.
Hashem wanted.
You know,
Right.
usually with Beis Hal- with the Beis- I don't know if we learned this here. With Beis Hal and Beis Shammai, like they did shidduchim together.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's here? Wasn't that right, something like that? You could-
Yes.
that's it.
And even you
It's
said
for a
if there
unifying
was
principle.
a-
You don't- you could be, you could disagree, but you're at the end of the day,
Right.
you can come together.
Yeah. Were you the
You
one
can
that
fight
said?
for change of mind.
Were you
Yes.
the one that said that even if there was an Indian of somebody who was a mamzer or not, they just told who not
Yes,
to marry
yes,
who?
yes.
Like,
That's all in the Gemara,
That's
yes.
extraordinary. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Because it's all a shame shamayim. Right? And you think about it, that is like the biggest schus, that we were chosen, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu could trust us with the power. Giving us the Torah, put the whole reality in our hands. And Am Yisrael could argue with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He could trust us with that power. Right? Because we're on the same team. We're on his team. If we'd be on a different team, you can't trust people with that type of power. Right? Right? And that's the amazing thing. Am Yisrael has Mishpat because Am Yisrael also has a Chok. There is the law of the Jewish people. Bereshis b'shvil Yisrael shnikol Reshis. HaKadosh Baruch Hu created on the thought level our Sharash HaNeshama. That's, it means that we, in the depth of our Neshama, want to do only what God wants and want to think the way God thinks as best as we can. That's a special root that we have, and that's our chok, the law of the Jewish people. The law of the Jewish people is a chok, not a mishpat. That's why. What is the halachic ramification? That God cannot divorce us and take another nation. Chok liYisrael. Chok. We're just rooted in that bereshis b'shol nikru reshis. Right? Even though our deeds fall really short of being worthy, right? Right? But our root is our root. That same root that makes us, capable of being God's emissaries on earth, and He could trust us with His Torah. And yes, you could argue with me because those tainas that you're saying, they come from my Torah also, and you're bringing out those tainas. I left it to you to bring out those perspectives. Right? And God could trust us with that because we have roots by Him. And those roots are a chok. We just were created that way. Bereshis b'shul Yisrael shnikol Reshis, same place, rooted in the same place Torah comes, and that's a chok. That's non-negotiable.
That's like
No one can ever give a good taina why HaKadosh Baruch Hu should ditch Am Yisrael and take another nation. Because we just are who we are. We just have roots, in His Reshis HaMachshava, same place that the Torah came from.
Isn't that like Am Segula? Isn't that definition of
That's
Segula?
right, that's correct. Am
Am
Segula.
Segula has that
Yes.
same, like we are who we are and no reason given for
That's
it.
right, it's a chok liYisrael. Right? And because chok liYisrael, there's Mishpat Lelokei Yaakov. That's why, because Kayadua, Yaakov is who we are on earth. Our heavenly root is called Yisrael. Our neshama is called Yisrael. The Jewish ethos. The national ethos is Yisrael. Right? Whereas the term Yaakov is more refers to our earthly existence. And there's a lot of proofs to this.
It's interesting. He changed his name from Yaakov to Yisrael.
When
And
he
Yisrael's
ascended.
Right. Yisrael's the thing that's everlasting.
Yes.
That's something.
Yeah, but Yaakov's
And
still
Neshama's
used. It's not like other names
Yes.
where they change it and they did never
Right.
Right.
Yes.
use the first
Right.
part.
Ikar and Tofel. Right. Right, correct. So now so that's If it would only be Mishpat, we'd be dead. If it would only be Mishpat, we'd be dead. There's no two ways about it. But there's something deeper. And that's how. If there's no Am Yisrael, there's nothing. Right? Because there's no Am Yisrael, there's no nation that has the Torah, and the whole creation project is thwarted, and, close up the world. Close up the world, shut down reality. No Jewish people, there's no world. Because the whole world was created for Am Yisrael and for the Torah, which are one and the same in the root level. That's the Chok Yisrael. Right? And so if there's no Am Yisrael, there's no world either. Right? So there's a very interesting. It's really a continuum. In heaven, it's Chok. It filters down as Mishpat. Right? Everything was legislated in heaven, right? And it is because God said so. But then, as Torah comes to earth, and now it becomes nitfas in the inyan of Mishpat. That now Am Yisrael have we could hold court with God. We could hold court with God. We interpret the law, we paskin, and He's got to deal with it, and we can even argue with Him, right? You could be malamet schus like Rav Levi Yitzchak always did, Sani Garon Shel Yisrael, and it works. It works, okay? Because when Torah went from heaven to earth, it gave us the right for mishpat, right? Court, and we could say our piece, right? But at the root level, it's chok, right? Because how can you give that much power to a human being? Well, because we're rooted by HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that He can trust us. That all we're doing with how we're handling the Torah is just to try to do it the way He would want us to do it. The way He would want us to do it. Doing our best to be mechaven to His ratzon.
Can I ask something? So when Amalek goes against us, on a deeper level, they're aware that they're destroying the world. They're going to destroy the world because if they destroy us, they destroy the world.
They're a bunch of anarchist liberals. So just burn the whole thing down.
So
right, yes.
Any movement, whether it's the liberals, the far lefts in Europe, or the Muslims that are also that aspect of both of them is Amalek, is an aspect of Amalek, is it not? Because they're destroying the world.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Rashis Goyim Amalek. There's a little bit of him in every nation. All right, but let's get on track to the Avod on Rosh Hashanah. Right, it's a Yom Adin. Right, and there's a lot of mishpat going on. Right, but we are trying to, as I say, cut through it all to the core. Say, look, Ribono Shel Olam, right? We may not have done so well this year, but we're on the same side. We are, and that's the avoda. It's the whole avoda of the day. That get beyond mishpat into chok. Right? Look, listen. There's the law, and we haven't been doing it so well, right? But the bottom line is, we're on the same side. You're our only king, and we're your only nation. We're in this together. And that's what we break through with the shofar, right? Ba'kesel, we've got to break through the block. That there seems to be a block between Chok and Mishpat. The Chok is hidden. You see the law, and how well is Am Yisrael keeping the law? But there's a deeper level to all that. There's a deeper level behind all that, right? Why did God give us these laws? Why did He give us these laws? These laws that we're doing a lousy job at keeping. Why did He give us these laws in the first place? Why did, we have these Taryag mitzvahs, they don't have that. Why did He give us these laws in the first place? Because we have roots in His ratzon. Because we are the goal of creation. If there's no Am Yisrael, there's no Torah, and there's no Nisav HaKrosh Dir B'Tachtonim, the whole creation project goes to pot if there's no Am Yisrael. And that's why we got the laws to begin with. And that's what it means. Even though everything that you did all year long is remembered. Absolutely. Right? And everything you did previously in your life, everything that you're going to destined to do also, in a certain way, goes on the scales because you're judged on how you're going to affect the timeline, not just what you did. But it has to do with how you offset history and how you're going to change destiny. It's pretty frightening. Right? No, that's what we say. We say in Zechros, you remember everything, because the judgment is so far-reaching, right? So far-reaching. Right? Listen, now is not about the time to argue with God, right? Because you'll lose anyway, right? 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 It's about taking it to a deeper level, taking it to one step deeper. Right? Let's go back. That's the Mishpat. Right? Let's go back to the Chok. Why do we get these laws to begin with? The bottom line is we're the only ones who are declaring your name on earth. You have no other people. And we have all this law and all this responsibility because we're yours and we belong to you. And that's what's reaffirmed on this day. Right? What's reaffirmed on this day is that we belong to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that's to, get to the roots of the matter. Get from the Mishpat back to the Chok. Get from Yaakov back to Yisrael. Get back. And then when you look at it from that perspective, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, all right, I have to judge you differently. Because if you are if you couldn't, obviously you understand, if a person his allegiance is with the king, right? So the king will look, even though he's not doing such a good job, right? But he's loyal, right? So of course he gets judged differently than, a great advisor that never failed you, but he's got a dagger by his back. He's just waiting for you to turn your back, and he's going to, right? Right? So, he's technically doing a great job at executing his responsibilities, right? Instead, that person is really, in his heart, is guilty of treason. And everything that he does right doesn't even matter. Because he's just waiting to assassinate the king. Usurp the king, escape the king, right? Whereas that guy, even though he's not doing such a great job, but his allegiance with the king, right? So it supersedes being judged on the details. Right?
That's how we go from Avadim to Banim. Avadim is
Yes.
Mishpat and Banim is Chok.
That's correct. That is correct.
So you should be very optimistic on Rosh Hashanah, right?
No, if you have to be sincere. That's the problem. Yes, so we asked before, everything is judged on this day. That's Mishpat, right? But what it says, Ein Darim Adam Ba'asher Hu Sham, what that means is something like this. It's not contradicting the fact that everything is on the scales. It's not a contradiction. They're two different judgments. There's the Mishpat and then there's the Chok, right? Everything you ever did and in a certain way, even what you are destined to do, is also on the scales. You have to be evaluated, whether it's worth keeping you around, right? Now, a lot of Rishonim, they pass Mishpat because God still gets use out of them. Gets use out of them, right? They say, listen, they do God's bidding, so, I'll keep them around, right? But we're trying to get past that. Say, look, who's on your team, right? Who belongs to you? And that's what it means, Ba'asher Hu Sham. Right? It's a different type of din. You're being evaluated to what extent you've accepted HaKadosh Baruch Hu as your king. And you've declared your allegiance to him. That you found yourself, you found your roots in heaven. You found your heavenly root that's by him. The Bereshis, B'shul Yisosh Nikru Reshis. That when God, reopens that pasuk, he'll see your picture there. That's the challenge. And that's the Ba'asher Hu Sham. For 48 hours you could hold it together and sincerely reaffirm your unswerving commitment to him that he is your king. And that's what it means. Shi'ala zichronechem lefanai latova. God doesn't forget anything. Yom HaZikaron. It means to find your place in God's thoughts. Besod Yisrael olu b'machshava tchila. First thing God thought of, right, is Am Yisrael. Chazal ask an interesting query. Who was created for who? Was Am Yisrael created for the Torah, or was the Torah created for Am Yisrael? And the Medrash brings a rod. The Torah was created for Am Yisrael. Right? And that's what meaning find a place in God's thoughts. Right? In that thought of Yisrael, Ol B'Machshav, B'Shvil Yisrael, we got to find roots there. That's the Chok. Find our roots there. Right? And so we have to just take it to another level. Right? Not argue, but just get past it. And that's Bakesel Yom Chagenu. Right? We have to break through the block that there is between the Chok and Mishpat, between the what I do versus who am I. The revealed world is what I do. Then there's who am I? That's hidden. That's Bakeseh. That's what's hidden. That's the Chok Yisrael. That's what we have to break through to. And the Rosh gave us the means through the shofar that, as this Lashon Hazor, it breaks through all the firmaments, cuts to the core. Cuts to the core. It cuts to the core, that in the core of our being, even though in action we may fail, right? But at the core of our being, we are dedicated to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and parallel to that, we are rooted in His Reishis HaMachshava, right? And then everything gets reevaluated, right? Not law versus Am Yisrael, but Am Yisrael as those who carry the law. So for all their shortcomings, they're the ones who carry the law and bring the law to earth, and they're the only ones that proclaim God's law on earth. And that's what we have to break through to. And that's what the simanim are all about. Simanim in halacha are identification marks. Like simanim on an aveda, if it has a siman, it still belongs to its owner, even though you don't know who the owner is, because it has identification. Like the owner could be found, right? Simanim on a corpse, identity based on those definite signs. You could be mater's wife to remarry, because means it's simanim is all about.
Simanim, you mean the honey on the challah? What do you mean by the simanim?
So simanim are what we do on Rosh Hashanah night, like the apple and the honey, and
Figs, fish, or head of
No, right.
lamb.
Right. Okay. Yes. So I'm saying, but just by breaking down the terms first, the idea of a siman, right? It means to keep a connection. That something that has parted from its owner has clear identification marks that keep it connected. Even though I don't know, I can't see the owner, but I know it has an owner, and I'm not allowed to take it for myself because it has a siman. So I have to be machriz. I have to, publicize. I found something, return it because it is still connected to its owner because it has simanim. A person, if a unidentified corpse, if it has simanim, it is good enough to establish identity. To allow his wife to remarry, etc., etc.
So that's the chok. The simanim and the chok.
Right. So I break it down. Right.
As the chok
Right.
aspect.
Yes.
I was thinking of something
Belonging.
else.
Okay, no, but let me finish.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Fine. So what the Gemara spoke about, the actual case in point was they coronated a king, and they did it shetimoshech malchusa. They did it by a running brook, right? A simon. The malchus should continue, right? And then the Gemara immediately, without skipping a beat, says, and therefore on Rosh Hashanah, watch what you eat, because that's what Rosh Hashanah is all about. Also, we have to make sure that there's a hemshech, that there's a direct connection between us and HaKadosh Baruch Hu being king. Right? It's like Yimashech Malchusos. Kingdom should be ever flowing. We also have to make sure that that's our situation, that we are never cut off from being, identifying as loyal subjects of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that's what gets locked in on Rosh Hashanah. What gets locked in, this particular avoda, of shetamlichuni aleichem, and it's a process that when you re-accept him as your king, unconditionally, and it's not a time to say sorry and argue with him. It's like we're getting past that, even though the trial is going on. We're trying to get past that, get to the core. Say tamlichuni aleichem. right? Unconditionally is our king. And then once you do that, Yale Malchus Zichronos, Yale Zichronechem Lefanei Latova. Once you've declared him as your king, unconditionally, you have found your place in his thoughts. When he said, Bereshis, B'Shul Yisrael, you found yourself there. You found your roots there. You found how you're chokuk. You're over there. Ubama, and the means for that is the shofar. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that's the tremendous tikkun of shofar, and this answers our question, right? If God, why does God judge? Of course, we have to be judged, but what's being evaluated on Rosh Hashanah, and is the secret that only Am Yisrael knows because of our unique relationship with God's law. What's being, what we're trying to get to is that we should be judged on the basis of our relationship to the law, not how well we uphold the law. We should be judged, and that's what means Ba'ashir Sham, our relationship to the law. And that's what we asked the kasha at the beginning of this session. God gives us all these fail-safe things. Don't judge us. No, of course, judge you. Of course, because the law of the Torah is the law of life itself. Without Torah, the world ceases to exist. The laws of the Torah give the structure that reality has. Of course, there has to be judgment. Of course, there has to be law, right? But the tool of the shofar is not to undo the law. It's not to undo. It's just to penetrate to the core of why there is law in the first place. It's not like HaKadosh was saying one thing and then saying the opposite. No. Shofar is to go deeper, right? That shofar is the vehicle that HaKadosh gave us to express, what's going on in the depth of our hearts. That no matter what we do, we're still committed to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and Ritzonenu Lasos Ritzoncha, we only want to do what you want to do. Right? The shofar is the vehicle to express that core of being. That's the tool that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave, and it gets a response. Ubama b'sho, when it gets a response, you express that commitment from the core of being. Because your words are not good enough, because you could lie. Right? Words aren't good enough. Shofar was a gift, this is the vehicle of expression of our Shem She'ein B'Libenu Ela Echad. Right? And it gets a response. It gets a response that, through the shofar, we find our roots in God's thoughts. And it just changes the whole picture. It's a reframing. It's not an undoing. It's a reframing. Because it was first, case, law against Klal Yisrael. Now it's not. It's been reframed. Am Yisrael and the law, it's not, the state versus. It's not. It's been reframed. Because the law and Am Yisrael now on the same side. But that's what needs to be achieved. Right? We have to reach that level, that we and the law are one. Right? Which is the whole reason why God was able to trust us with the law and trust us with all that power in the first place. Because we're with him. That's why he could trust us with the Torah and give us all that power. Because we have to renew that. We have to get from Mishpat to Chok. Retrace our steps. It's from top down, it's Chok L'Yisrael, Mishpat L'Okei Yaakov. You always find Chukim u'Mishpatim. Chok always comes first in the pasuk, right? Because from top down, that's how it goes. From God's end, it's Chok. When it reaches us, it's Mishpat, because now we have input, right? But we have to retrace our steps and go from Mishpat back to Chok. And the fact that it's a Chok is bakese. It's very, very covered over. We only see the law and seemingly how we've violated the law. We got to go break through with the shofar. We tiku b'chor the shofar. We break through bakesa. We break through that block. We penetrate to the core. Right? That at the core of it, it's not the law versus. We and the law are one. The same law that's putting us on trial is the source of our life. And that law is legislated for us. That's what we break through on Rosh Hashanah. Shem Yizakenu, Yimal Shem Kol Mishal Zivkol Tov, Shem Yishana Tovo Mesuka.